Hello, everyone. My name is Zara Durrani, and I welcome you to another episode, another inspiring episode of Life and Style with Zara. You are listening to us. You're joining in on Dash Radio and Ruckus Avenue, #1 South Asian radio station in North America. Joining me today is Ofosu Jones-Quartey, whose voice I'm very familiar with because I have this wonderful app called Balance that I was listening to in Paris, and given the current situation right now, Balance app has offered an entire year free to people to help relieve their stress and anxiety. Ofosu is also a musician, along with being a meditation teacher out of Washington, D.C., and his musician name is Born I. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Zara. It's my pleasure to be here with you.
You know, as I was mentioning to you the other day, I had just finished listening to your voice. I was doing a procrastination meditation. Yes. You know, I am serial procrastinator. So
many of us are. Me too.
The joy of being self-employed, being an artist, and
Exactly.
And I was listening to this procrastination meditation, and you were leading it. And I have to tell you, first of all, you have a very healing and soothing voice. I normally prefer to do meditations that are led by you because there's a very calm quality to them. I also used to teach yoga and meditation as well. Tell us about your journey. Tell us about how did you get started into this world of mindfulness and healing and teaching meditation?
Sure. Well, first, that is, thank you for those kind words. That's so nice of you to say. And I guess a bit about my journey. My mother was the first person to introduce me to meditation when I was very, very young. My mother was a Buddhist practitioner. And I'm an only child, and my mom and I are very close and were very close when I was younger. So she was a yoga practitioner. She's an immigrant. My family's from Ghana in West Africa. So she was here as a new, having been in this country for a few years, and really was looking for a kind of a spiritual rebirth, as it were. So she was practicing yoga, practicing meditation, and she would take me along with her on her different experiences and journeys. And so I would go to the yoga studio with her, I'd go to the temple with her. And so I was exposed to these sort of things from a very young age. My father was a very avid music listener, so I was also exposed to so many different types of music when I was growing up. So I get a lot of who I am and how I am from my parents, like so many of us. I went to college at American University in DC and started reconnecting with meditation while I was there. My first child, Sundara, was born while I was still in school, and there was something about her coming into the world that really inspired me to start practicing meditation in earnest. And so that has become really a part of my life.
That's beautiful. And it's a gift to others, you know. Well, the app that I was introduced to you from, Balance app, it's such a fantastic app, and this is definitely not a sponsored thing that we're talking about here, but it was a great app that I came across. I was living in Paris, as a lot of my listeners know. I was living in Paris, France for the last 2 years, and I was, even though I used to teach yoga and I used to teach meditation, there's something really special about being led. You know, there's something really special about just, quieting your mind and not worrying about what to think. So when I came across this app, I thought it was so brilliant. And then, with everything going on in the world right now, I think it's fantastic that Balance has offered, like all their different kinds of meditations, from beginners to intermediate to advanced for free for an entire year. And they have different kinds of meditations like procrastination and for sleeping, for morning, for waking up, for going to bed. Tell me about this app. Like, you know, like what is your involvement with them? Did they come to you? And, you know, do you write out the meditations yourself, or it's, you know, tell us about the process of that.
Absolutely. Well, balance has been a big blessing in my life and in the lives of many other people, it seems. And I'm always very humbled to hear how the app has positively affected so many people. They reached the amazing people at Balance reached out to me. I guess they were familiar with some of the work that I've done in teaching prior to working with Balance. And I also have done a good amount of voiceover work. I've voiced a few cartoons and things like that. So I think it was a situation where these two worlds, my voice work and my teaching work, came together in a kind of perfect way. And so they reached out to me. I did a bit of an audition and just did a guided meditation and recorded it and sent it to them. And the rest, I guess, is history. In terms of how we come up with the different practices, it is done by a team. So there are a few different people who have years and years of experience in meditation practice, myself and Leah included, who prepare and review and get those different meditations together and deliverable. And then Leah and I record them in the studio.
And it's really brilliant because the app, I think, is so fantastic because it knows, okay, you haven't done this meditation in a while, or, you know, I think it's such a smart app. Like the other day when I was doing the procrastination meditation, it said it's your first time doing this meditation, or if I'm returning to some kind of meditation. And what's great about it is that I can put my phone on airplane mode and, like, you know, I hit play before and then it will just play all the way through. So I think it's really fantastic. And especially right now, we need all the tools that we can get to deal with, you know, there's so much uncertainty, there's so much fear, like in the US, you know. Like, tell us a little bit about how you are dealing with everything right now. You know, I know there's New York and Los Angeles are in the news a lot. Like, how are things in Washington, and what are you doing for self-care to calm your nervous system and to be present in the day?
Yeah, that is again, great observations and great questions. I do, to the first part of what you mentioned, I do think that the genius of the Balance app is the amount of care that is taken to create a personalized experience for the user. So, you know, the goal is to really meet people where they are and to create an experience that feels like it's designed just for you. And essentially it is designed just for you based on the information you share with us and how you use the app, etc. So it is really, really special and unique in that way. So I'm glad that it's working for you in that way. In terms of how things are here in DC, well, I sadly, you know, we lost a family member due to complications of the coronavirus. And so it has landed here in our family in a real way. It went from being this sort of abstract thing to this very real thing. And quarantine in and of itself is an extremely unprecedented, stressful, and difficult situation. Now, there are many people who are doing their best to thrive in quarantine, and for some, quarantine has been a blessing. And there are ways in which, for me, it has been. But but there's also this undercurrent of stress and deep uncertainty that that feed into one another. And if we're not careful, we can really come undone. This time has been a time where I feel particularly grateful for my meditation and mindfulness practice, because these simple but effective practices give me an opportunity to ground myself, to come back to the present moment, and to really watch my emotions and thoughts and feelings as they rise and fall and rise and fall. In this time, the thoughts and the feelings and emotions, they're rising and falling feel so much more intense. And so it's an opportunity to really get to know, be really in touch with your thoughts and your feelings, but it's also challenging. So a simple practice that I've been using for myself and that I've been sharing with folks in my social media is this simple counting exercise with the breath. You breathe in for a count of 5, breathing in 2, 3, 4, 5, and breathe out for a count of 5, breathing out 2, 3, 4, 5. That, to me, now there are variations on the count. In the Balance app, we have a few different breathing meditations that rely on counting. But there's something very grounding and very even keeled about just breathing in and breathing out at the same rhythm, and then connecting with the count so that your mind is here in the present. So I've been doing that, and I'll do a more spacious meditation in the morning, and in the evening when I'm putting my kids to bed, I'll do the 5 and 5 meditation for however long it takes them to fall asleep. Yeah. So though that, and during the day, I try to keep a general attitude or atmosphere of mindfulness for myself. So I'm doing my best to be aware of my steps. I'm doing my best to feel the temperature of the water when I'm washing dishes. I'm doing my best to attend to difficult emotions with kindness, and to deliberately feel gratitude for moments where there's joy. So so that's the long answer to your short question.
Thank you. And it's needed, and it's important to have these conversations right now. Someone like me, I live by myself. I came to Vancouver for just to have my visa renewed and on a return trip ticket to go back to France.
Oh, wow.
And I lived in France for 2 years, even though I didn't speak French. I wrote a book there, and a big part of that, you were mentioning earlier that you do Vipassana, and, part of meditation and mindfulness. And, as I was biking home right now from the workout when we were speaking earlier, I was listening to this author who was, New York Times bestselling author, Pam Grout, and I've carried her books with me all over the world, and she's like New York Times bestselling author, and she was the first guest on the show, and she talks about bending reality. And I feel that, let me know how you feel about this. Like, I feel like this is a great time for someone like me and maybe you, because it sounds like you're a dad, you're an artist, you're teaching, meditation, you're doing retreats, the Balance app, voice actor, all that kind of stuff, that right now, everything that maybe we would be running away from is coming to the surface. And that necessarily doesn't mean that I'm not saying that in a negative way, but I mean the emotions. I know for someone like me, like I lost my mom 3 years ago, and work becomes a thing that, working, being busy. So the deeper emotions and feelings that are at the core, maybe our nervous system is not ready at that time to deal with it. And I personally think, in my opinion, I hope this doesn't offend anyone, but I feel the planet, our race, needed what is happening right now. Of course, the consequences, I have lots of friends who lost their parents. Like, I have friends who've been in a coma for a long time. But I feel way we've been going in the last 100 years, we've been going so fast. So things like meditation and, there's tools that we can use during this time, like meditation, gratitude, reading, turning inwards and feeling those feelings, and then re-emerging and having that rebirth. Like, tell me about like some tools, like, what this whole process has been like for you, quarantine, but even before that, and what tools you use for that self-healing and the self-detoxification.
Sure. Yeah, to your point, I'm looking out my window in my bedroom now, and I just never have seen the outside world so vividly before, because there's so much less cars on that are out right now, and there is so much beauty and opportunity happening right now in the context of this deeply uncertain and scary time. And I'm paraphrasing someone, but someone basically was saying that, we have a choice as to how we go through this. It's either like a cage or a doorway, that we can pass through and emerge differently on the other side, or it's some place where we can end up getting stuck and have a real difficult time emerging. I think that how we choose to navigate this time will be how the world looks after all of this is done. Some of the things that I've been trying to do even before this was really practice a lot of self-love and self-care and self-compassion. There are, as you were saying, there are so many things that are sort of coming up in this time that we might not have been aware of. So I just dropped an album, and the singles are releasing now. And then I was also traveling a lot for Balance. So I would have gone to San Francisco to record for Balance, and then I would have gone to Mexico for a concert. Then I would have traveled to France, to Strasbourg, to shoot the videos for the project. Then I would have come back and started teaching retreats. And so, I now that we've slowed down so much, I can't imagine moving at that speed. And mindfulness is sometimes called the pause that remembers, taking that pause to remember your own humanity, to remember what it feels like to have a body, to remember what it feels like to have a mind and to have your senses. And so I think that this is also a really good opportunity to take a pause to remember who we are as human beings. And one of the ways to, there's a Zen monk named Thich Nhat Hanh, who says that, whenever we have a difficult emotion arise, we should reach out and speak to it or attend to it like we were holding on to a crying baby or a child who's just beside themselves. And there's really nothing to do but to say, I'm here right now. I'm here, I'm taking care of you, I'm holding you. And to really be able to have that sort of relationship with the pain that's inside us, and to just sit and be there, and almost just like you rocking a child. And then you'll get to see the gradual easing of that discomfort. And we go through this again and again, just meeting our pain with love, meeting our pain with love, meeting our pain with love, until love becomes loving care, loving attention becomes an automatic response to any internal pain. And then we change the internal narrative. And hopefully become more free and more loving. So that's what I was working on internally beforehand. And then this has been such an opportunity to do that moment by moment. Yeah.
Thank you. If you're just joining in, my name is Zara Durrani. You're listening to Life and Style with Zara. Life and Style with Zara. And joining me today is Ofosu Jones-Quartey. His artist name is Born I. He's a musician and meditation teacher. He's been teaching meditation and retreats for 10 years. And we're very excited and happy to have him here today. I'm so happy that I looked you up on Instagram. It's really fascinating, like just hearing someone's voice
Yeah.
and being acquainted with that. And then, you know, the other day I said, okay, I wonder if this person's on Instagram. And, I went to the balance and I've sent them a few shout outs, thanking them and saying that, it's such a gift right now. Like it's such a gift to people, for those who know about this, that you can have this beautiful meditation app for free, no ads, nothing, and just something we need so much, whether it's for 5 minutes, 3 minutes, or 15, 20 minutes that you're meditating for.
Yeah.
Tell us about your music. You're an artist as well. You're a voiceover actor. That's brilliant, because your voice, the way you're sounding right now, is very different than what we hear on, I imagined like someone double your age, it's like the voice is so deep and it's so like the Mufasa voice.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can, my voice is a pretty flexible instrument, and depending on what it's needed for, that's how I deliver it. Yeah. So,
tell us about the album, because you have your album dropping.
Sure. Yeah. So,
and what can we expect from the album?
okay, thanks for asking. Yeah. So the name of my album is 1111. Right now, we are releasing the album one single at a time. So today is Tuesday. The next single will be coming out tomorrow. It's called Horizon. That's the fourth single from the project. And so we're at the halfway point, and there'll be 4 more singles, and then we will release the entire album with maybe 1 or 2 bonus tracks later in the summer. This is a joint project that I did with a producer named Tenka, who lives in Strasbourg, France. And so this is like an international collaboration. He did all of the music and I did all of the lyrics. This is, it's a project that's very introspective on my part. The music is reflective of my, I guess, my spiritual background, also familial background. There's a lot of African and Asian sounds there. You also have really beautiful low tone bass. So it's high energy, but also very meditative. So it's kind of like me. And it's named 1111 in honor of my dear friend Tom Dern. That was his favorite number, and it's my favorite number as well. And he passed away, unfortunately, a couple years ago. So wanted to do something in honor of him. Wanted to do a project that was at high energy, vulnerable, and beautiful at the same time. And I think that's what we've created. So I'm the first 3 singles. The first single was called Tulum. The second single was called Lotus Dream. The third single was called Guillotine. And this upcoming one is called Horizon. So I hope y'all check those out and you enjoy them.
Wonderful. And can we listen to them on Spotify, or they can buy from iTunes?
Yep, anywhere digital music is sold. Just look up Born I, or you can look up Born I and Tenka, Tenka. And my name is spelled just how it sounds, BORN space the letter I.
Wonderful. And you were mentioning that you do Vipassana as well, and the type of meditation that you teach in your retreats is Vipassana meditation. Can you tell our listeners about Vipassana and what that experience has been like for you, and what it would be like for someone who is just getting into meditation? Because, we're always reading articles, and especially right now, you need to meditate, mindfulness for leaders, moms, like everyone, meditation is recommended. So for someone who is a beginner, tell us about Vipassana.
Sure. So many of our mindfulness traditions that are developing and that have developed here in the West, they have their roots in Vipassana meditation. Vipassana is an ancient practice dating back over 2,600 years ago, starting with Buddhism as we know it, and it is really the word Vipassana means to divide and see. And so what it really is speaking to is to being able to notice the different phenomenological experiences that happen in your mind and body as they arise. Normally we take this mind and we take this body to be sort of a solid entity, but really we are a collection of different elements. We are a collection of multiple energies, and they're always interacting and in conversation with one another. And it's this interaction of energies that creates a person. When we aren't able to sort of see the conversation happening within us, there can be a lot of stress, and that stress can lead to unskillful words and unskillful actions and unskillful thoughts. So Vipassana is essentially mindfulness meditation, but it's mindfulness meditation directed at developing what's called insight, so that we can understand who we are more, what we're made of, what makes us tick, and to give us to sort of train the mind to not always react to external or even internal stimulus, but to just observe and let things arise and pass on their own. So Vipassana and mindfulness are almost exactly the same kind of thing. But Vipassana is aimed directly at this experience of insight, but mindfulness will give you an insight experience as well. So you also asked, what could someone expect, or how could or for a beginner? Really, my advice for any beginner is to keep the practice very, very simple, and keep it short, and keep it interesting. So if you're going to begin practicing meditation, maybe just, again, trying that breathing in for a count of 5, breathing out for a count of 5 for 1 minute, and seeing if that makes any sort of positive impact for you. And if it does, then staying with it for the next few days. Anytime you have a free minute, you just breathe in for a count of 5, breathe out for a count of 5. If that feels good, then the following week, maybe make it 2 minutes, and so forth and so on, until you feel really comfortable with that, and you're maybe wanting to explore other practices or go more in depth. So I would always say, keep it short, keep it simple, and keep it curious. Keep a curious mind about it. Yeah.
Very well said. And sometimes what I even suggest to friends or someone I could be talking to, or even for myself, and it's something as simple as just lying down in Shavasana, lying down on the floor on your yoga mat, turning your phone off, and maybe your maybe your feet against the wall, so your feet are parallel to the wall and your body is on the ground, and just placing your hands on your heart or on your belly. And however, when you're living such a lifestyle like what you were explaining, and the life that I've been living, it was a lot of suitcase packing. Like last year in May, right now, I was in Lebanon.
Wow.
And I went to Paris for like a day, and then before that I was at the Cannes Film Festival, and then before that I was in Paris, and then I was in Strasbourg, like where you were going to go. So yeah. A lot of that, and then it's almost like your nervous system begins to be addictive, like to that high intensity and the trauma that is almost caused to your body and to your nervous system, and the caffeine and all that kind of stuff, that it thinks that's the normal, to run at such a high intensity, to go, go, go. So for me, I'm speaking for myself, when I have days like those, I forget to lie down and meditate. So
Right.
I've had to force myself to be like, okay, this is just 2 minutes, or this is just a minute. I'm going to lie down. And you know what happens sometimes? Sometimes if I just place my hand on my heart or my belly, there'll be an emotion that'll be coming up, or a sadness that is coming out of nowhere, and you think you're feeling fine, because those feelings need to be felt. And I think that's what's happening with a lot of people during quarantine, is because, for those who are not working, or those who are living by themselves, or even not so, because we're normally not, we don't get that chance. So I think the whole experience is like a retreat. It's like a meditation experience, Tell me about your first time doing Vipassana, because for me, I was going through a lot. I was going through a breakup. I had a TV show that was on air. Life in Style with Zara show was on air. And my yoga teacher had told me about Vipassana, and she said it's really intense. However, when you're called to do it, you will know. And I went and I did it up in the mountains, and day 3, I was like ready to leave. I didn't leave, but I was ready to leave. And then how they get you to breathe, to just focus on your breath.
Yeah.
How powerful is it to breathe?
Yeah.
Tell me about your first time experience of Vipassana and just focusing on breath, because that's what meditation is, the mindfulness and the power of breath, and bringing our awareness back to the breath, that being alive is just enough.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So my teacher, so I was practicing really on my own at first, just through what I was reading, and I was reading so many different things. So in any given time I was sitting down to practice, I was doing a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and I actually was probably creating more complications for myself than I needed to. So definitely, I definitely recommend that anybody who is undertaking meditation, at least stick with one simple thing and get as much support around that simple thing as possible. Apps like Balance are great. Finding a teacher is great. Anything that can sort of help you sustain in a sort of singular direction, so you're not all over the place, and so that you can really get your footing firm. Because I didn't do that at first, and it was difficult for me to. My practice was very tough in the beginning, just because I had too many ideas and expectations, and it was so. So finally, I went to a place called Bhavana Society, which is a meditation retreat center and temple in West Virginia. And I met my teacher, Bhante Buddharakkhita, there. So he's a Buddhist monk, and he's from Uganda, and he taught me Vipassana in the Burmese tradition, where you breathe down into your diaphragm and you really feel the rise and the fall of the belly, and your primary attention is sort of just resting your attention on the rise and fall of the abdomen, noticing all the sensations that are connected with breathing in. And
as you're talking, I'm remembering to breathe. Please
continue. Sure. And noticing all the sensations connected with breathing out. And more and more you get deeper and deeper into this awareness, and then you can feel these tiny, tiny micro moments that make up one in-breath, and these tiny, tiny micro moments that make up one out-breath. And in the process, many thoughts and feelings and emotions and memories arise, and you can label them in just, thinking, feeling, remembering, and then you gently come back to the breath. And so the breath serves as your anchor, and it also serves as a teaching tool to teach you about all of life, all of existence, the whole story of what it means to be alive is contained in one in-breath and one out-breath. Now, the first time I practiced this, it was difficult, well, it was difficult breathing into my belly, because I had never really breathed like that before. I thought I was doing something wrong, because so much anxiety and so many thoughts and so many difficult emotions were arising. That was my experience for quite a long time in my practice. And I always wondered if I was doing it the right way. And my teacher would always encourage me that the sticking with the breath and noticing your experience, this is enough. And gradually, over time, my practice has opened up in a way that's much more open and more free and much more enjoyable. So yeah, so my beginning practice with Vipassana was not always easy, not always fun, but I'm glad I stuck with it. Yeah.
Now, do you also do visualization, or visualizing your future? Because of course it's coming back to, not for people who are just getting started, or if someone is getting started, if they want to do visualization as well, they can. But I related a lot to what you were mentioning, that don't just try too many things, because you're going to end up doing nothing. And
Yeah.
I would say back in the day that was my case. And when I did Vipassana, I found it really powerful, because I think it was around day 7 that I did Vipassana listening to Goenka-ji,
Wow.
his recordings, and the Tibetan, I believe, with their prayers and all of
Yeah.
that. And for us, when I did this, it was, waking up at 4:30 in the morning, and then going to bed around 9:30, and you're meditating for like 2.5 hours in the morning. And then towards the end, there was so much energy in my body. Like, let me know if you've had this experience, that it was a little bit intense. I felt like Goku from Dragon Ball Z. It really scared me, to be honest, because I've never had an experience like that. Like, my hands and my feet and my entire body was just shooting out with energy. But this is like towards the very end, like having gone through the roller coaster of emotions, the anxiety, the discomfort with sitting, because in Vipassana you're sitting, like when I did it, it was sitting for a very long time. And what I think was really powerful about this, that pay as much as you want. It wasn't like this is a $10,000 retreat for 10 days. They're like, this is the tradition, what you can. And some people would come and work in the kitchen. And,
Right.
I thought it was, and it was, when I came into it, feeling very down, going through a breakup. And then this is about over 12 years ago. And then I got out of it, leaving, feeling just like I was floating above the ground, like detox, just insides, everything like rejuvenated.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No. Yeah. I mean, there's something about getting down to the finer parts of yourself. When I say that, I just mean getting down to that layer of energy that's underneath all of the emotion and desire and feelings that we are normally in contact with. It's again, going back to the name Vipassana, to divide and see. You start to understand that there are layers to your living existence, and there is this storehouse of energy that's really fueling this whole life. And I think what it feels like you're talking about is being more in touch with that life force, with that life energy, and feeling it sort of surging through you after coming in contact with it, deliberately over and over and over and over and over again. Something opens up in its own time. So yeah, I mean, I think that meditation in and of itself is a way for us to to be in touch with what it means to be a human being, and in a very specific way, learning what it is that we need to be healed and to be happy individually. You know, I think each one of us has our own recipe, so to speak, for what real wellness looks like for us. And the very basic way to get in touch with that is by being with yourself for a few moments. And the longer you're able to be with yourself, the more you'll be able to see yourself. But yeah, I for me, it's been very important. Self-love, self-care, self-compassion, coming from a place where I was dealing with a lot of anxiety, depression, and things of that nature. Being able, through my meditation practice, to see where I was experiencing these painful emotions. Where do I feel them in the body? What color are they? What shape are they? What pattern do they express within me? All of those things. And being acquainted with my difficult emotions and feelings in that way. And then Tara Brock, who's a teacher.
Love her.
She is a dear friend of mine, and she is the one who sort of brought me into the teaching team at IMCW, the Inside Meditation Community of Washington. So shout out to Tara. When I was talking to her about my practice, she said, you know, take a moment and ask yourself, take a moment and ask, when you experience anxiety or when you experience a different emotion, you can ask that emotion, what is it that you want me to know? Or what is it that you have to say? You know, and a lot of times my anxiety is saying, you know, I just want to be good. I want to do the right thing, think the right thing, say the right thing. You know, and if you can respond to that, if you can really listen to what your feelings are trying to tell you, a lot of times they just want to be heard, and then they'll pass on their own. You know, it's like how we are as human beings. We don't necessarily need someone to solve our problem, but it'd be really nice if someone would just listen to what we have to say. You know, and a lot of our inner world is just, hey, this is what I have to say. Please hear me, and then I'll be on my way. Yeah.
If you're just joining in, you're listening to Life and Style with Zara. I'm your host, Zara Durrani. Joining us today from Washington, D.C. area is Ofosu Jones-Quartey, also known as Born I. He is a meditation teacher, mindfulness meditation teacher, as well as an artist, hip-hop and electronic music artist, and he just dropped an album. You can listen to his music on iTunes, Spotify. We will be playing a song at the very end, so you can listen to his music. And we've been talking about everything related to mindfulness, meditation, and how important it is to have that conversation right now about self-love and self-care during this time in the world. So Ofosu, I was, sorry, I have like all these millions of questions, you know, and we were talking a little bit about visualization meditation and also visualizing your future, because you being an artist and being a meditation teacher, and it's so fantastic. Like, I studied yoga, I would say in 2010, so almost 10 years ago in Bali. And then coming back to being a performer and teaching yoga. And I was like, well, people, are they going to take me seriously? She's a television host, actress, producer, and she's a yoga teacher, and she's this hippy dippy person. But I feel that having that training at that and that base has helped me so much in terms of trusting the universe, trusting higher power, whatever that may mean to you. And also principles of self-care and self-love, because like yourself, when you're an artist, it can be so easy to get into compare and despair, or either you're going on one lane or you're going the other lane, and the brain is like this animal, like whichever way you're going to take it in, what you're going to focus on is going to expand. So I want to know how you feel that this mindfulness practice of you teaching retreats and teaching other students and then also practicing it in your life has helped your art.
Oh, yeah.
And helped your music, in order for you to, for example, something as simple as the retreats balance app and your voice acting and your music, and you were mentioning going to France. Like, it sounds like you're a great manifester, and that comes from visualizing, and visualizing with faith, not fear. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So on the visualization side, my mother-in-law is also a meditation teacher, and
you just track that into your life.
I guess so. I think it's a part of what my journey in this lifetime was supposed to be about. And I learned about manifesting from her, and I learned really about energy and all of those types of things from her. And manifesting is kind of a magical dance that you are doing with the universe to arrive at where your heart believes it should be. And so I have learned, many different exercises or practices or techniques in the art of manifestation, and visualizing is absolutely one of them. Affirmations are also one of them, and I definitely, as an artist, using visualization to see. Sometimes, I'll be rehearsing in my DJ's basement or in my house, and you're just looking at the wall, but in your mind you see a sea of people. You're making your brain feel familiar with this reality that is not necessarily happening right now, but you're calling it into your life, into your existence. That's definitely one of the ways, and manifestation is also a meditative practice, I believe. And so one of the ways in which I use my mindfulness practice in my art is really actually it's in so many ways. So for instance, in how I write my songs, these days I'm really wanting the honesty and the vulnerability and the truth of my experience when I'm meditating to be something that I can express when I'm writing. So for instance, the opening lines of the song that I'm about to release, Horizon, it says, look at myself in the mirror and I try to notice what I'm not aware of. It's easy to notice when I don't take care of my mind and my body, but what am I scared of? I want to be perfect. I want to be worth it. I want to feel good and feel like I deserve it. All of the love that I get from my friends and from the people around me and my friends and my family, I want to be worth it. Something like that. Yeah. And so, you have those feelings when you are taking a good look at yourself. And then I can directly sort of access that same place when I'm writing lyrics. When I'm in the studio to do voice acting or to work with balance or to recite lyrics for a song, there are so many thoughts and feelings that arise. Like, am I good enough? Is this good enough? Am I prepared enough? Do I suck? Or I'm not good enough. I'm not prepared enough. I suck. Or, man, I'm about to kill this. This is going to be the greatest thing that I've ever done in my life, And all of those those sort of mental winds that are blowing through your mind, you know, they can really take away from what you're actually there to do, which is to deliver something direct and to do it in a meaningful and skillful and beautiful way. So, you know, I have a very simple mindfulness formula: feet on the ground, air in my lungs, sounds all around. I am enough.
Mm.
And so I do my best to just take a moment and feel the feeling of my feet against the ground. And then I'll take a few breaths and just feel the air in my lungs. And then I'll open my ears to whatever sounds are present in the room, outside of the room, or even coming from my own body, my own breathing. And then I'll do my best to say something kind to myself. You know, I am enough is a great self-care mantra. And that really allows me to be settled and centered and clear enough to take the next step from there. So yes, in many ways, visualization, manifestation, and mindfulness play a huge role in my work as an artist.
And it shows, you know, based on everything that you're saying. And of course, there must have been that French connection that, you know, I believe in the power of the subconscious mind. And I remember reading in a book saying that, you know, we are all connected, like everyone from like, I'm connected to Oprah and I'm connected to, you know, people who lived hundreds and thousands of years ago, and their particles are part of the planet. And, the other day, a few days ago, on 21st of May, I visited my mom's grave, and I hadn't been there since we buried her. And she would have turned 55. And just yesterday was the anniversary of her funeral, like 3 years ago. And I noticed that her grave versus the ones around, the grass was more greener where she is buried. There's more wildflowers growing. And in the beginning, you know, right away, I want to put my hand on the grass. And then afterwards, I was like, my mom's, you know, we're thinking, but it's the cycle. And, you know, she is a part of the universe now. And she is with me. I know everyone says that when you lose a loved one, they're with you. But it's true. Like, you know, people are part of the universe. They're part of the air. And whatever our desire is, the same place where the desire came from, the possibility of you achieving that is also possible. So the fact that I was listening to the Balance app and to your voice, and then not knowing at all that you have that connection with France, that you were working on your music with someone in Strasbourg. I was in Strasbourg last year, and you know, this life is beautiful and anything is possible. And I know we're going through hard times right now. These are challenging times, and we're both sending peace and love to everyone who is listening or watching this video that will be uploaded to YouTube. But I do believe that we are going to come out of this stronger than ever. You were going to say something?
Oh no, yeah. I think, well, your story. First of all, my condolences to you and your family. That's a very heavy loss. But that moment that you just shared. Thanks for sharing that. It's such a powerful moment, because, you know, it's something that was just for you. It's, you know what I mean? That moment at that site, and it was just like that's what I gather from it. So this tattoo right here that I got is the logo of my friend and manager Tom, who passed, really a brother of mine. And I got this tattoo on the 1-year anniversary of his passing in San Francisco. Every time, the name of the album is called 1111. And just to clarify, we will put the whole album out at the end of the year. So right now we just have the singles out. So if you just look up Born Eye and Tenka, you'll see all the singles. But in any case, I got this tattoo to commemorate and to celebrate his life on the anniversary of his passing. And as I was leaving the tattoo parlor, I was talking to him, and normally every time I see 11/11, if you look on my Instagram story, you'll see that I post 11/11 in my stories. Anytime I see it, and I see it quite often. I don't set my alarm or anything like that. It's just, and anytime I see 11/11, it's an opportunity for me to talk to Tom and to just say hi and let him know I miss him, and to thank him for any of the ways that he's being a blessing in my life right now. And when I walked, and so I was talking to Tom, and I said to him, you know, I got this tattoo so that you would have a hand in everything that I do, you know. And as I was going to make this left turn, but then I saw this underpass, and I said, this is interesting. I'm not really that familiar with San Francisco, so let me just take this underpass and see. As I walked under the underpass, spray painted on the wall was 11/11. So it's one of those moments where it's like, I don't really know how to explain that, except it was a moment that was meant for me, that his energy and my energy shared explicitly. So there's a line in Hamlet, I'm paraphrasing it, but it says something like, there are more things on heaven and earth than are contained in your philosophy, Horatio. And I think that, you know, there's an element of mystery and magic and energy that we know is there, that we experience. We can't really explain it, but we know it's present in our lives.
Thank you so much. I hope we're going to have some time to play your music. I want to thank you, Ofosu, for taking the time to speak to us today. And, you know, I know the planet right now is going through a lot, you know, people all over the world, and our hearts are with you. And I hope you found this episode of Life and Style with Zara somewhat inspirational. That is my aim, to bring guests on who are doing inspiring things from all walks of life, from all over the world. So do you have a website that we can refer people over to, Ofosu?
Yeah, absolutely. There is a website that is really centered around my mindfulness work, and we are going to have that up probably in the next week or so. So you can probably just Google my name, Ofosu Jones-Quartey, and that will come up. And as far as what I'm doing with music, you can just search me at bornimusic.com, BORN, the letter I, music.com. And on social media, pretty much everything is either at @BornIMusic or /BornIMusic. Again, BORN, the letter I, music.com.
Thank you so much for your time and your energy, and for having this talk with me. And I'm wishing you a very, very lovely day. And thank you all for tuning in. Until next time, I'm your host, Zara Durrani, and I'll catch you on Life and Style with Zara. Thank you.